One.
Welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationships, Sunday night at 9. I am your host, Coach Glenda, here with my course manager and co-host, Rufus Carpenter. As most of you know, Rufus and I have created this forum where you can discuss trials and triumphs in past and present relationships. We encourage everyone to speak their truth and talk as much or as little as they would like. And just a few housekeeping rules before we get started tonight. Please mute your devices until you're ready to speak to avoid any background noise, as well as let's be respectful and allow everyone to speak their truth and get their comments in. And I'm going to allow Mr. Carpenter to tell you a little bit about himself as well as his background.
Good evening, everybody. How you doing? And once again, like you said, I'm Rufus Carpenter. I'm the manager here at Sunday night at 9, and it gives me great pleasure to be in front of you tonight. My background is very simple. I came from a large family, never had enough. And there I've learned how to be a helper. And that helper gave me a servant attitude. So since then, I've been doing the best I can. I joined the United States Army, and one of the jobs I had in the Army was human relation and race relation leader. We had the responsibility going to any of our Army units, and I would deal with any kind of race or relationship problems we had. And with that, I learned a great deal about dealing with race and relationship issues in a diverse environment. So, for that said, I'm more than qualified to speak about relationship issues as well as the man perspective. Because this container, Sunday Night 9, is more designed to be where you and 20 of your girlfriends are like on a Sunday night, the kids are in bed, and you got 20 of your girlfriends in your living room, and you guys are being relaxed. Maybe somebody might have a glass of wine to get the moment more relaxed. And it's a sacred place where you can talk about relationships. Normally, we have a topic that we talk about, kind of prearranged topic we talk about every week. But even though we have a prearranged topic about relationships, you can open up any relationship issues you want in the discussion. You can ask questions as frankly and honestly as you can. Because a lot of times, by you answering a question or sharing your breakthroughs or some of your challenges, the sister beside you may be going through the same thing. And just hearing you say it and seeing that you broke through and came through, she might say, wow, if you can do it, I can do it. So you don't know who you're encouraging. So please speak up, speak your truth, and be respectful. We're going to have a good time tonight because tonight, the topic tonight is something we don't normally talk about. This is something that one of the founder members brought up and asked we talk about it. So we decided to take a break from our normal routine and talk about this special issue. So Glenda, let you explain what it is.
All right, everyone, tonight's topic is she's in an 8-year unmarried relationship with a man that just found out he has a 8-year-old son. This discussion dives into a complicated and emotional layer scenario that touches on trust, identity, long-term commitment, unexpected family dynamics, and the vulnerability women face in evolving romantic partnerships. So, we're going to cover tonight emotional whiplash and trust shock, relationship identity crisis, women and unforeseen labor, the child's present, a game changer, and the pressure to be cool versus honor her needs. All
This is
right,
going to be a good one. This is really going to be a good one because when you talk about some of these things, first, the emotional whiplash and trust shock, it puts yourself in that position. Even if you're a lady or if you're a man and your girlfriend told you, say, hey, look, Rufus, I know we've been in this relationship 8 years and I never told you about the child I had. And so it put yourself in that position. all of a sudden 8 years and you and this person been dating or a relationship, or you and this person had some type of relationship in that 8 year period, and all of a sudden you got she or he has an 8-year-old child, and now you got to say, wait a minute now, hold up. And just to throw some extra in there, now the other party, whether it's the mother or the father of the child that you don't know anything about, now that wants you to be a full-time parent, want you to get involved with rearing this child's life. So you got to do that. So what's some of the first thing that go through your mind? You know, after you say what the heck, what comes to mind right after what the heck? All right. What are some of your thoughts, audience? Let's let the audience talk about this one first, because this is something just new to us as it's new to you, the audience. So what would be some of the first things come to your mind if that was the case? Would it be about the child? Would it be about yourself? Would it be about your partner?
Right.
Anybody want to weigh in?
You can take yourself off mute and speak.
Or you can use the chat or mute. I mean, you can use the chat or you can speak directly.
Okay, someone asked in the chat, are you all exclusive? According to the scenario, Gigi, yes, because they've been in a relationship for 8 years. So the example more or less gives us the impression that they have been exclusive. And not only did the lady find out, but the father found out that he now has an 8-year-old child.
Well, let me start us off. My mind would first, naturally, my mind would think about me in a relationship. Is this something I signed up for? Is this something I want to be a part of? You know, after the me shock come out, you know, how it's going to affect my life going forward. You know, am I going to look at this lady differently now? That now, not only now that she's not just my girlfriend or roommate, whatever, a partner. Now she's my partner with the child, or well, I'm sorry, it's from the female side. Now he would be a man with a child, and now would I have to be second fiddle? You know, because after I think about myself, long after I think about myself, I didn't think about the child who had nothing to do with this, the innocent child. Now, the innocent child, through the child, you know, do we both kind of put our feelings aside and think about the child's welfare? Should we, you know, is it that we should now bring the child in and hold our peace per se? So it's a lot to this right here. So before we get into the verbiage of it on our end, I'd love to hear the audience point of view of it because once we start talking, you kind of got the idea of which way we headed. But I want to, before we get into steering the conversation a certain direction, I want to see your thoughts of it.
I have something to say.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, children are blessings of God.
Yes.
So, with you being in a relationship, a child has nothing to do basically with the relationship. But my problem with it is, why did you not say it up front? Why did you keep it to yourself? And is this all you're keeping to yourself?
Well,
it sounds like she kept a secret from you. So that means that she's not being honest. So are you going to continue with the relationship?
Okay, you deal on one side of it now. The scenario was put to us that she didn't know nothing about it. Neither one of them knew anything about the child. The child just popped up. The lady that had the child, well, the lady that had the child, the lady that had the child got in touch with the father and said, hey, look, remember when 8 years ago? Now you have a child. And he's saying, whoa, you know, he's saying like, wait a minute. It took him by surprise too. So it took him by surprise, and he went to the young lady he's with and said, hey, look, I just found out I got an 8-year-old child. And then the woman he with, she looked at the fingers. We got the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year. We've been together 8 years. So that's the scenario we're dealing with tonight.
So it's quite possible that, before they got with him, that they were in a relationship. It could have been a one night stand or whatever. As long as the relationship didn't carry on for the 8 years, then there should not be any problem with the two of them coming up with a scenario of how they're going to handle it. Again, the child has nothing to do with it. You have to look at what are we going to do with the child now? Do I want to be in this child's life, or do I not want to be in this child's life?
Right.
So that's how I think about it.
So you're saying that both of them find out, that both the man and woman find out at the same time, they're both neutral in this. So they're putting their feelings aside, and what's best for the child going forward is what you're saying. Am I reading it right?
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's one scenario. That's one way to look at it. Anybody agree with that one, or got another alternative or another way of looking at it before we move on? Okay, so let's call Gigi's scenario child central, or child the priority of the child. Let's call that's his first scenario. The priority of the child trumps everything else, or come before anything else. The priority of the child. So that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Did you want to say something, Pierre?
Oh no, I didn't mean. I'm sorry. I was answering my sister. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're good. But if you have any comments about it, feel free to talk about it, because this is formed tonight. This is something unique, and I don't think this is an isolated incident. I think this has happened before. I don't think this is something that just came out of the woodwork. So this is something that we may deal with, or may all have to deal with, because sometimes, I'm 70 some years old, and I'm told, I have friends that at 55 years old, somebody knocked at their door and say, "Are you my father?" So this is the same kind of stuff. And then you look at it and say, well, okay. I guess initially, it's always a shock. You got to think about, how is this going to change my life? This is going against the norm. But like Gigi said, regardless of all that, the child's a blessing from God. The child come first. So how can we rally our thoughts together and take care of this child and make sure this child grow up to be a healthy young person? So that's one way of looking at it. Okay. All right, Glenda.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
I wanted to say, this scenario that you're describing, I'm sure it occurs more frequently than we think.
Oh yeah.
But there are so many things involved in this. There's the time frame. There is the relationship between the two who are in the current relationship. It will depend on their personalities. It will depend. Their reactions will depend on their belief in God. It will depend on the female partner's ways. Is she quiet? Is she loyal? Is she friendly? She's too friendly. How does she dress? How does she speak? All these things will affect how we even look at the situation. Yeah, and then out of fear, we'll start to judge. And sure, as for the child, yes, the child has nothing to do with any of that. We certainly agree. But how committed are we? And do we have to accept this child? What will the father of the child, the biological father of the child, do? Is he involved? There's so much to look at, so much to discuss, and I cannot see a resolution can be reached in an hour's time of discussion.
I think we all can agree with that one.
In so many ways.
And he just brought us something good. Let's do it from this way. Let's do it from the three perspectives. And we're just gonna stick with the fact that the lady found out, a lady and her husband, a lady and her partner, because it says unmarried here. So the lady and her partner found out the same time about the child. Let's say, for instance, that neither one of them knew anything about the child until the 8th year when the child and her and the child's mother popped up and said, "Hey, look, this is yours." And because and just to, and I don't want you to judge me, but I've got to be honest and forthcoming, because that's one of the vows I made about, or one of the promises I made when I came on Sunday night at 9, that I would be transparent. But something similar happened to me. A child at 14 years old. The mom called me and said, "Your son is at the jail." And I knew about the child when the child was born. I was in the military. I knew about the child when the child was born. And the lady and her husband adopted the child. And I think they adopted the child when the child was like 3 or 4. And they adopted, the lady got married, and her husband adopted the child. So it was kind of like, and they wanted me to not have anything to do with it. So as years went along, when the child was 14, the lady called me and said, "Hey, look, come get your son. He's in the jail. He's at the sheriff's office." And I said, whoa. I ain't talked to you in 14, 15 years. So some of this I can relate. And that's why I said first thing you think about yourself first, and then you think about y'all. But I can relate. So when I went through it, it was like, wow. And I said, okay, I have to do what's best for the child. Like Gigi said, the child came first. Everything else, and I was married at the time. So me and my wife, we talked about it. My wife says, "Well, you can go see about the child, but that's it." And I said, okay. So I went to see about the child. And my thoughts were, this is my child. When I saw the conditions there, I said, "Boy, you come with me. Come on, let's go." I told the sheriff, "Give me my child. Me and my child are going." And that created a whole can of worms. That was that decision I made, but I found out when those decisions made like that, like Pierre said, it's not, it don't get resolved easy. It's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why when I saw this touched me, and I really wanted to have this discussion, because let's look at it. We looked at it from the child point of view, and let's look at it from the woman's point of view. The woman now, she has to factor, and if they're unmarried, are they going to decide they're going to get married so they can do the right thing to have the child the right way? Or is she going to decide, I want out, I didn't sign up for this, I'm not going to be a stepmother, I'm not going to be a surrogate mother, I'm not going to do any of this stuff, I'm stepping out. So let's deal with it now from the woman's point of view. Let's talk about how, if you were in that position as a woman, or you kind of feel what a woman in that position would do or say. Let's deal with it from that perspective. Anybody want to be the first one to share that from a woman's perspective?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Go ahead, Sharon.
Listen, okay. Someone else is listening to me. I got to go to another room. Listen, how I feel about that situation, even though the spouse of the spouse of the man, she didn't know anything about that situation, nor did she.
They're unmarried. They're unmarried, Sharon.
Oh, okay.
As of this scenario, they're unmarried.
Okay, well, if they definitely unmarried, then she just got to just deal with it, because who would want to deal with a man that's not gonna take care of their children, regardless. So she would either have to just deal with it or keep it moving.
You mean keep it moving? You mean cut ties with the
If
child
she don't,
and the man?
no. If she can't handle that child, then that man taking care of his child, regardless of the situation, they're unmarried. So who would want? I would love for them to know that that man is gonna stand up and be there for their child.
Mhm.
So if she couldn't deal with it, then she would just have to keep it moving. I'm sorry.
Well, once again, when you say keep it moving, I want to understand keep it moving. The
That
woman
means
keep it moving. I want to understand what that means.
that mean we just have to part ways. What I'm
Okay,
saying,
got
should
it,
we
got
have
it. Okay, got it, got it.
yeah, because like you said, the child comes first.
All right, we're speaking from the woman perspective now. So Sharon
Yeah, I
says,
am.
okay, Sharon says that she needs to, if she can't deal with it, she needs to move on. Need to sign off the relationship.
I
Any,
I agree with Sharon
okay.
that if she doesn't want to, but I myself, I love children, so it it wouldn't matter if I was with a man and that happened. What would matter is he knew about it and lied about it.
Okay. All right. So that's the whiplash part we talked about when I first started, the trust shock and whiplash. Then did the man hide it? You know, what does this mean about the foundation of the man and the woman? You know,
Right.
that rocks that. Then can she, like you said, can she trust him going forward?
Right.
You know, because that opened up a whole can of worms. So you're right about that, Gigi. That's the emotional whiplash of it. Because, you know, you first thing you think about betrayal. And then that unconditional love thing come in there. If I don't unconditionally love you, if I love you when on sunny days and good times, and that when foul weather or bad times I cut and run, then that's a different story. It becomes a different relationship. So you're right about that, Gigi. It's a deeper trigger because when that child came in, and I really wasn't too fond of this Joker anyway. There's so like Pierre said, there's so much here. All right, so let's still talk about from the woman's perspective. Any more comments about the woman's perspective?
Can I make
Any,
a comment?
you got something in the chat?
Uh, no, I don't see anything new.
Okay. Any more comments for the woman's perspective? So far, we got the woman's perspective. If she loved a child, if she loved children, she would go through, and her and the man would get that. Now, Pierre said something important about if God is involved. Now, if God is involved. Now, should the woman decide to say, hey, okay, only way I do it is we marry. I'm not going to continue to do this if we don't have any covering over us as being husband and wife. And now that we're looking at a child, a third part of this relationship, you know, that would be a big question.
Right. That was actually my thought while everybody was providing feedback. The example states that they have been dating for 8 years, but that's a long time to just be someone's girlfriend without any type of engagement or marriage proposal or just flat out not being married. So, you know, where I would fit in this new family dynamic would be my initial response and care. I mean, yes, the child is important, but now we've been in a relationship for 8 years. We haven't even figured out what's going on between you and I. And if I didn't have a desire to be a long-term girlfriend, you know, now that a child is in the mix, where do I fit?
Okay, good question. Where do you fit? Good question. And yeah, good question, because that would really trigger thoughts in your head. That would
Right.
really make you wonder, you know, now am I going to be second fiddle? Or now am I going to be important? Now is he going to try to go back to the woman that the child is from?
Right.
You know, because some women, when they bring the child into a relationship, it's a package deal. You can't just have your child. You got to have me too.
Right.
So that's a big issue. Any additional comments about the woman from the woman's perspective? Okay.
Why aren't they married?
Well, I can tell you why they're not married, because of modern relationships now. Modern relationships are different than traditional relationships. Traditional relationships, you only courted for a short time until you get to know each other. Then you made a decision, we marry, we break up. Modern relationships now are, hey, it may be convenient. It may be cheaper for us to live together as a pair, as a couple, and not. Modern relationships is no norms anymore.
And I agree. I totally agree. Years ago, there was a song, "It's Cheaper to Keep Her,"
Yes,
that no longer applies.
yes, yes, yes. Because these modern relationships is so much now. It's America. Well, the world. I'm not gonna say America. The world now has gotten to the point now where almost anything you big and bad enough to do goes.
Yeah, yeah. And as long as it allows me to remain independent, even though I live with you, I prefer that option.
Mhm.
You know, you go your way, I go mine. You know, and all those are the teachings of the evil one
Yes, yes,
that
yes.
we have embraced, and he has reinforced it in songs, and bro, I tell you,
Because right now, for the African American family, right now, we're being attacked, and it is destroying us as a race of people, as a culture. Because the
yes,
first thing you do is tear down the family. When you tear down the family, you destroy a culture and a race.
True.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I got some stats. I think I can't quote the stats directly, but a large percentage of Black women now aren't married, and a third of them are saying they never going to marry.
Mm.
And they claim it's because the husbands are not there.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Correct.
Because a large number of us are in prison.
Hmm.
You know, we have no education. We are jobless. You know, to say the
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you think about some of that, all that isn't coincidence.
No, it's not. It's not. As a matter of fact, I learned that uh, it, it is a well rehearsed um, school out there.
Yeah.
Okay, that when the child is in school, they they study the child to see how well he does in school, and they can predict if he's going to be jail material or not.
Mhm.
Uh, so so according to how we do in school, so that's why they have these yeah, uh, tests, these tests that the kids should not have because they have not studied uh, properly, you know, so they are predestined to fail anyway, you know. Um, it's it's so sad. You know, I think we should have a show or a talk on education,
Okay.
uh,
You can do that.
because I tell you, it's a sad thing.
Yes. 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 Okay. All right. We're still on the woman's perspective. We're still in woman's perspective. We have so far that a woman, if she can't see her loving the child going forward, then the norm, the thought now that she should leave the relationship. And then a side note is that they should marry. For her to seek a covering for her, the man and the child. Marriage would be the proper covering for that going forward. Any additional sides on the woman's side of this equation before we move into the father side?
I I have something to say about that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm a little different. I think a little different about this because I mean, although this child, well, um, the child didn't do anything other than just want to be wherever it is to be. But the woman, um, you don't have to always love somebody's children. You know, if they're yours, they're yours. If there's somebody else's, they're somebody else's. To be a mother to a child require a lot, you know, and it's not all about the mate, you know, because I love the mate, I can do this, or the mate and I need to be in this position in order for me to do that. You have to think about, although it's not your kid or your child, but what do you intend to do? How can you love this child? Can you rear this child? Can you be there for this child? Not the man or the woman or whomever, not your partner. What can you as a woman give to this child to let this child know that you are loved and appreciated? You are enough. Whatever we need you to do is we just need you to thrive. We just need you to make it. Those are the things that that child needs to understand and know. That child don't need to understand and know nothing else about the dynamics of the relationship. And if you guys, the parents or the adults can't get it together, then automatically you just can't deal with this child. You know, if it's not yours and you can't get it together, walk away. There's nothing else to say, you know, because you have to just put this child over everything, whether you gave birth to this child or whether you or not, because this child has no bearing in this world other than to grow and develop and thrive like the next child. So to bring them into the relationship conditionally, that's not a good thing. I can't see it being good for anybody, for the child or for the partners or nobody. So you just have to decide, hey, no matter what you and I do, I can love this child, or no matter what you and I do, I can't love this child. You just have to make that decision and stick to it. That's the way I see it.
Okay, well stated, Annette. Any comments about Annette's version of it? Any comments, any follow-ups or suggestions there? Okay, well stated, Annette. And Annette said something, because back to my scenario with a child, a 14-year-old child, children ain't easy to love all the time. Trust me, children will try your patience even when you want to do the best for them.
Right.
Because a lot of times children feel the vibes. A lot of times children try you. Even your own child will try you. So a child you really don't have much of a solid foundation with will even try you more.
Yeah.
And you can't say, okay, hey, I signed up at first, but now I changed my mind. That don't work. That don't work. So thanks for bringing that up, Annette. All right. If no more from the ladies, from the woman's side, let's talk about the father side now. Who wants to dive in about the father side of this equation? Now, the father he didn't know anything about the child. He's been with his unmarried it's a girlfriend or partner for 8 years now, and the child is 8 years old. So that as long as him and his partner been in a relationship, that's how long the child's been alive. So now he's finding out he has an 8-year child. And let's say, oh, by the way, the woman of the child saying, now you got to have an active role in this person's life, in this child's life, period. I want you to be at least a full-time or part-time parent for this child. So what are your thoughts about the male, this father's perspective in this whole equation?
I want to make a comment.
Go ahead, Glenda.
My from a male's perspective, I would want to know why the mother withheld the information. Why did you wait 8 years to come around and tell me that I'm the father of your son or daughter? That would be my number one question as a man, because then I would be questioning, is it really mine? Because if we only had a one night stand, who else did you have a one night stand with? I mean, if it was just a random jump off, you could have did that with someone else. How do I really know that this is my child? Then on top of that, just the fact of knowing that you withheld this for 8 years. This is past kindergarten.
Yeah.
So that will be my first response or, need to know after finding out the news. And then I can proceed from there, regardless of what the response would be. Because I mean, if it is mine, yes, I am going to be a man and take care of my responsibility. But at the same time, too, lady, I mean, like, what was you thinking?
And if I may ask, where was the child all this time?
With
Yeah,
the mother.
with the
Yeah.
with the mother of the child, the mother, because apparently it was set up that the mother of the child now all of a sudden came forth and said, "Hey, look, Joe, you got an 8-year-old child,
Right.
and now you have to take responsibility for the child and have to be a part-time or full-time parent for this child."
Oh. Well.
And that's how it was presented. Okay. Any additional from the father side? Anything in chat, Linda?
Well, Gigi, it said pretty much says, yes, why did she wait? And he has a decision to make.
Okay, because in my situation, the lady waited 14 years because her and her husband couldn't take it any longer. The child had got big as the lady's husband, and the child was beating up everybody. So the only thing they could do was have the sheriff come get him.
Yeah.
And that's how I got involved. And I said, son, you're mine. And I said, let's do this thing.
Now,
And
let me ask you something, Mr. Carpenter,
mhm,
since you brought that scenario up from your personal life.
mhm,
Do you think that your son behavior would have been different if you were involved in his life from the beginning?
100%, yes, entirely
Yeah.
turned around, flip,
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
yes. And when I got in his life, it took a while, but we made a difference. And it took a while. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me, and it wasn't easy for my wife, and it sure wasn't easy for him. The three
So
of
true.
us, that triangle was tried. And the only thing that kept that, two things that kept that triangle together: the belief of God and unconditional love. That's the only thing that kept that together. The only thing. Okay. All right, let's go into some of the prepared stuff we did for the night, because you guys have brought out a lot of good points. We talked about it from the child perspective. We talked about it from the woman's perspective, and we talked about the woman's perspective. Came out some good comments. If you can't love the child and be a mother, it may be a better way to walk away. And then we came from the father perspective is, 8 years, what's going on, guy? And so we're there. So let's talk about some of the stuff we prepared for the night, because this is something we want to make sure we have an understanding here, because this is not new news. This happens every day. And hopefully, none of us on this call or any of our children in this call will ever be put in a situation like this, but we don't know. We have kids and grandkids on this, the people on this call have kids and grandkids. So we don't know when we might have to be the one that give guidance or counseling to our grandkids or our kids and say, hey, look, let's sit down and talk about this. Because this becomes a family event, not just the three involved, but the support of this. Okay. All right, Glenn, let's go first into our scenarios. And these scenarios are real life illustrations that we're going to go in. You ready to go into them, Glenda?
Yes, we have Tanisha's dilemma. Tanisha has been faithful and loyal in her 8-year relationship when her partner found out about his son from a past college fling. He was shocked and overwhelmed. Tanisha's first instinct was to comfort him, but privately she cried, wondering if she still mattered.
And once again, these are real situations. We just changed the names a little bit from the case studies.
Yes.
Now, so this one is, and Tanisha, when does she still matter? Because hey,
That's a valid response. That was a valid response for her. Because apparently she really loved she loved the guy she was in a relationship with. And she's been faithful and loyal throughout their 8-year relationship. But when the news came out, it took her by surprise. So even though she wanted to comfort him initially, when she was in her private corner or went to her, private space, she cried because she probably wasn't prepared for it. She didn't probably know how to handle it or how it was going to play out because it came as a shock to all parties involved.
Yes, that would be a bit much.
It
Okay.
is.
Any comments on this one before we go to the next one?
I don't want to sound cold, but we should be prepared for things like that.
Really?
Uh, because we've all been touched by sin, okay? And the Bible describes what how we really are, okay? We consider ourselves as good, but the Bible says the contrary, you know. But we still believe that we are good, you know, and we are not. We are not. Okay, our hearts are deceitful. We even though, as Paul says, or that he wants to do the right thing and he knows what to do, and yet he does not. So we should not be
Yes.
surprised when a grave news knocks at our door. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, even when I would do right, evil is abound.
Yes.
Yes, and again, like for instance, my instance, I knew about the child, so I thought in my mind, in my head, I thought, that's what I thought back then. So please don't judge me. I thought I got away. I thought I got away clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then 14 years later, unexpected, boom, and it almost rocked my marriage and my whole life at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
nothing that you don't escape. You don't escape it. It comes back. It revisits.
Yes. Yes.
It revisits. Okay, number two, Glenda.
All right. Jada and the baby mama drama. Jada's partner not only discovered his child, but the child's mother demanded he play a full-time dad role immediately. Now Jada's weekends are no longer about date night, but about football practice and navigating awkward co-parenting exchanges.
That's a good one. Ooh, goodness gracious. That's a change. That's a changed life. Her whole life has changed. The whole dynamic of the relationship changed. The whole thing has changed. Now PTA meetings and all that stuff now.
Right.
And lo and behold, they had a little age on them too. Goodness gracious. Yep.
Hmm.
Any comments about this one? Go ahead, Pierre. Me and you've been at this all night. Go ahead, Pierre.
well, it's the expectations, and the immediate expectations. That could be more of a problem than the expectations themselves.
Yes, yes.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. We have to we have to consider the other individual. Um, it is. I know these days is as we think this is how the other one should be. That's not the way it works.
Right.
It just does not. I think it does more harm when we only see things as we see them, because we don't think the same way. We don't even understand things the same way. We don't even see things the same way,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's on paper. Uh, yeah. It's more complex than that, and it requires more prayer, more outlook, uh, more refraining of the tongue. Uh, you know, yeah.
Okay. All right. Any comments on number 2 before we slide number 3?
Yeah, I think
Go ahead.
I agree with Pierre. It's like I don't think you can come in and demand anything. I think that person, the partner, that man, whatever, I think he could and should take a role, but I don't think you can dictate or demand what role he actually have to take. Like you immediately got to step in and do this and do that and do this and do that. I kind of think that's a bit much. I think he needs to say, hold up, wait a minute, I got to think about this thing. But yeah, take an active part. But I don't think he can come in and be 100% that person that you expected him to be just because. It's like it's got to grow on him too. He got to figure it out, on how to handle it. That's what I think.
And I guess that's why they call it baby mama drama.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and if you think about it, if she withheld the fact that he had a child, how can you come in out the gate demanding anything? I mean,
But
I'm just finding out.
but some people figure that if I did it all this long and you got away scot free, yeah, you're gonna pay up and you're gonna pay through the nose.
Right, right, right.
That's why and some baby mamas they don't. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna cuss, but they don't care. I'm gonna say they just don't care.
And you don't even have to be a baby mama, you know.
What you trying to say, Pierre? Women in general?
Yeah, in general, it's the new attitude now, you know.
Yeah.
You'll do what I say or else, you know.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay. Any more additional question before we go to number 3? All right, number 3, Glenda.
All right, we have Lena's silent resentment. Lena agreed to stay and figure it out. But after 3 months, she felt invisible. The man she loved was now always focused on his child, while she didn't feel like she had a say in her own home. Her silence turned into resentment.
Oh, we got war in the camp.
Yeah.
We got war in the camp. Anybody want to comment?
God is the answer. Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
yeah. She would have to rely more on God. Uh, yeah, because he's the only one who can change minds and hearts.
True, but she
Uh,
can speak up, correct? She can communicate her feelings to him about how she feels invisible now,
uh,
correct?
yes, yes, she can, but there's a way to. Uh, I know a lady, a very sweet lady, who she means well, but wouldn't be able to communicate as we are hoping.
Okay.
I tell you.
I see. So I'm telling you, this stuff is not new stuff. This stuff is going on, people. This is
Yes,
real
yes,
stuff. Yeah, because she's already feeling invisible. So her speaking up, she's more invisible now for real because it's falling on deaf ears.
yeah, yes, yes, and all the wrong words would come out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Any more additional comments about Lena's issue of silent, being silent?
Well, okay. In that situation, because I was thinking communication too, but in that situation, and you said it's falling on deaf ear, what would you do? Because in my mind, that's what it would take, communication, or you walking away from him and letting him come and find out, or he or your partner come and say, why you leave, then that way they can figure it out. But what else would you do?
No, we all agree, it seems, on communication. It's how we communicate that would be the key.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because when you feel left out, when you're angry, your words will reflect those emotions, you know, and that is not the time to speak in an aggressive or hurtful or damaged way, you know.
But this
Not the
seems
time.
like not to cut across for you, Pierre, but this seems like the partner is hurt. Not,
Yes.
You're hurting.
Yes.
So I don't think you want to be like retaliating or mean. Your heart hurts. You just, I don't know.
Yes, and this is why I'm being very cautious about even though the need to communicate is essential. It's the only thing to do, but oftentimes we need a lesson. We need some guidance. We need some word management. Uh, yeah. And oftentimes when things are not going our way, we seem to lose mastery of the language.
And this is one of those times where outside counseling, the professionals, the therapists come in, because you got to help somebody sort through that. Because we had it in my circumstance, we had to do a lot of outside counseling. We had to do a lot. That really made a difference. And it was on a regular basis. We had to have counseling. And that made a difference. That outside counseling was invaluable. I mean, it was just so valuable for us at that moment.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Number 4, Glenda, if you don't mind.
Okay, we have Bria's breakthrough. Bria chose to take a 30-day break, not to punish, but to think. In that time, she journaled, got therapy, and when they reconnected, they had a clear discussion about roles, respect, and whether their goals still aligned. That clarity saved them both. So I guess that's where the communication came in. But she took a 30-day break to get herself together. So I
And
guess she went to
that was
God in
wise.
prayer.
That
She
was
went
wise.
to God.
Any additional comments about that one? And that
Not necessarily about that one.
Okay.
But I have a question that in the whole scenario, and not trying to cast shade on the young lady or whatever, or what she was doing. But when a woman comes up after 8 years, you need to make sure that's your baby.
Bam.
Because I have a cousin, and he was 59 years old. The father that he thought was his died, and all the siblings had to do a test and found out he wasn't his. So is this baby really his after 8 years?
Normally the other person in this situation, for instance, the woman, they get a test quickly. Normally the other person, the one that the child belongs to, is not the one to get the test. Normally the one that the child don't belong to is the one that normally requires a test, requires them to have a test. That's the first thing they say. Have you tested? Somebody gonna swab or something. Somebody gonna test.
I agree.
All right.
Okay. Any more comments about this before we start wrapping this up? Anybody got any last comments about this? We're gonna start wrapping this up. Okay. Tonight we talked about a very delicate subject, because whenever you're dealing with kids, and kids are innocent, and the fact that neither the man in this situation knew, and it dropped on both. The child as well as them didn't really know what was going on. So it created some issues, and that emotional whiplash and the shock of, hey, look, what else is out there? This rocks the foundation of the relationship. Trust going forward. Now it's three people, or three things. It's three different entities now: the woman, the man, and the child. Relationship identity crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that what the lady signed up for? Does she sign up to be a partner now, or a stepmother overnight? How does she handle that role? Will she always come second to as a parent in this? Black women have always unseen laborers. Black women always have to negotiate the grief of the situation because a lot of time Black men dump stuff on Black females a lot, and they sometimes they don't have a choice. Mm-hmm. We always say people always have a choice, but sometimes when Black women are put in a position where they really don't have a choice. And especially if they love they love their man and their children unconditionally. A lot of times they just grin and bear it or try to make everybody whole. And that's an issue that we eventually have to address. But like Pierre said, we're not going to address it in this hour. So that's something you got to realize there. So protecting your peace, there's a lot there. And the child became a game changer for the whole thing. Like Sharon said, if the lady can't cut the mustard, or lady don't want to be a love the child, should she go or stay? What type of support are they going to need? 8 years, that was the same amount of time that they were in a relationship. 8 years. The child was just born as long as they was in a relationship. So 8 years, a lot of time. 8 years, a lot of investment. And like Pierre said, where's God in this? 8 years, like Linda also stated, 8 years, they should have been married or something in that 8-year time frame. So there's a lot of boundaries that need to have been set going forward. It's set there. I think Linda's kind of stated that if we're not going to do anything, we're not going to make any major decisions that first couple of years. The boundaries, I will not go this far unmarried. I think is what Glenda had kind of stated. Am I right in saying that, Glenda?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was there. So, as Black women, what do you expect? How do you expect to handle the emotions in a relationship now? Because we always said Black women were the cradle of society. Well, people say Black women have always been the cradle of society, and Black women have always been so strong, and society depict Black women as being strong. Are they being strong because they happen to bear everything we put on them? Linda, I'm turning over to you. You're a strong Black woman.
All right, I'll take that. All right. Thank you, everyone, for showing up tonight. I really appreciate your participation. Like I said, this was an amazing topic. I like everyone that was able to share their thoughts and their comments. And also, I just want to remind you before I do my official closing that we have our conference coming up next Saturday, the 14th, and it's going to be virtual. So if you haven't purchased your ticket or registered, please do so. It has not closed and the window is still open to make purchases, as well as we will still have our Sunday night at 9 on the 15th, which is Father's Day. Yes, we will be still having our Sunday night at 9 on Father's Day at our regular time. And for tonight's discussion wasn't about just one couple's twist. It was about what happens when life throws us relationship curveballs. For many women, commitment is sacred, but so is clarity. That communication is always the key. When someone you have love brings you an unexpected truth into the relationship, it doesn't mean the love is dead. It just means you have to make a decision. This is your reminder. Your peace is non-negotiable. Your boundaries are valid. And your voice deserves to be heard. So whether she stays or walk away, let her choose not from fear, but from strength. Let her choose herself. See y'all next week.
Wait, before they go, I'm gonna show you. Y'all want to see something beautiful?
Oh, wow.
Beautiful? I don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can see it here. This is the championship. This is for the trivia championship, relationship trivia
for the conference.
Yes, look, can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. But
Yeah, I
Yes,
can see it.
you
Oh,
see
no,
it.
I see it better now because it was a glare in the back.
okay, this is
Okay.
beautiful. Who's going to win it? Who's going to be crowned the champion of 2025 for relationship trivia? So we're going to see next week. This is so beautiful. And I'm kind of scared, so I got to put it down because I don't want to break it
Yes, that
because
is.
it's all glass. So see you next week, everybody.
All right, good
Okay.
But you
night.
guys are the
Take care.
best in the
Take care.
world. Thank you very, very much.
Good night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
everybody.